imagine waking up at 3 in the morning to a silence so heavy it feels like a physical weight pressing against your chest. You try to move, but your limbs are lean. You try to pray, but the words dissolve before they can form in your mind. You tell yourself it is just stress. You tell yourself it is just a bad dream. But then you smell it. A faint, unmistakable scent of rotting meat or sulfur, rising from a corner of the room where nothing should be. This is not a medical condition. This is not a coincidence. This is a signature. You are being targeted. The evidence points to something far more disturbing. Welcome to the Forbidden Cipher, where hidden history, forbidden knowledge, and ancient mysteries are brought into the light. On this channel, we uncover the secrets buried beneath forgotten civilizations, lost biblical truths, mysterious discoveries, and the coded patterns shaping our world today. Every video is a journey into the unseen, challenging what we think we know about history, prophecy, and the earth itself. If you are passionate about hidden knowledge and truth-seeking, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an investigation. Your support helps this channel continue uncovering the mysteries others ignore. And if you truly enjoy this content, sharing these videos with others is one of the biggest ways you can help the Forbidden Cipher grow. Together, we decode the past to better understand the future. Now, let us uncover today's mystery. There is a form of warfare that does not use bullets or blades. It is a siege of the soul, a systematic attempt to dismantle a human life from the outside in. In the annals of the Catholic Church, this is known as demonic oppression. It is distinct from possession, where a spirit takes control of the body. Oppression is far more subtle, and in many ways far more dangerous. It is a slow, methodical targeting of your health, your relationships, and your peace. Today, we expose the 7 forbidden signs that you are under spiritual attack, grounded in 2,000 years of historical records, the lives of the saints, and the harrowing accounts of modern investigators. The first sign is the sudden and irrational aversion to the sacred. Throughout history, this has been the primary diagnostic tool for those investigating the unseen. In the case of Clara Germana Seal in 1906, witnesses documented a 16-year-old girl who had lived a normal life until she suddenly could not stand the sight of a cross. Her skin would literally burn when touched by water that had been blessed, a phenomenon witnessed by over 170 people. This is not just a psychological quirk. It is a visceral, biological rejection of anything that carries a holy frequency. You might find yourself suddenly unable to step inside a church without a feeling of intense nausea. You might find that a rosary you have owned for years now feels heavy or repulsive, as if it were made of hot iron. This is the enemy attempting to sever your connection to the divine power source. When the sacred becomes painful, the target has been marked. The second sign is the presence of malodorous sensory anomalies. Since the 16th century, Jesuit missionaries and exorcists have recorded the presence of vile odors that appear without a physical source. These are often described as the scent of rotting flesh, stagnant water, or sulfur. In the historical records of the Lauda nuns in 1632, investigators noted that these smells would manifest in locked rooms, lingering long after a spiritual disturbance had passed. These are not merely hallucinations. They are what scholars call sensory infestation. The unseen force uses these smells to create a state of constant low-level fear and disgust, lowering your spiritual defenses. If you find yourself smelling decay in a clean house, or if the air around you suddenly turns cold and metallic during prayer, you are witnessing the intrusion of a lower vibrational entity into your physical space. The third sign is what the late chief exorcist of Rome, Father Gabriel Amorth, described as the pattern of chaotic sabotage. Amorth performed over 60,000 exorcisms and observed that oppression often looks like a string of impossible bad luck, It is the sudden, simultaneous collapse of your professional life, your finances, and your health. It is not just one problem. It is 10 problems arriving at the same moment with surgical precision. In his writings, Amorth noted that these attacks often follow a significant spiritual milestone. Perhaps you decided to return to your faith, or you committed to a new life of service. Suddenly, your car breaks down, your bank account is frozen, and a chronic illness flares up without warning. The goal is isolation. If the enemy can bury you under a mountain of worldly chaos, you will be too exhausted to fight the spiritual war. This is the strategy of the blockade, designed to make you feel that God has abandoned you to the wolves. The fourth sign is the nocturnal siege, manifesting as night terrors that defy scientific explanation. While modern medicine calls this sleep paralysis, ancient traditions recognize it as the visitation of the crusher. Saint Anthony the Great, the father of desert monasticism in the 4th century, recorded these encounters in vivid detail. He described being surrounded by the forms of lions, bears, and serpents that would physically strike him. Athanasius, his biographer, wrote that Anthony was often found beaten and speechless after these nights. Today, this manifests as a crushing weight on the chest, the feeling of being watched by a shadow in the corner, or vivid dreams of being hunted. But there is a key difference between a dream and an attack. A dream fades. A spiritual attack leaves you with a lingering sense of dread that persists into your waking hours, often accompanied by unexplained scratches or bruises on the body, just as were found on the boy who inspired the movie The Exorcist in 1949. The fifth sign is the intrusion of the fiery darts, or what modern psychology might call intrusive thoughts. However, these thoughts have a specific, blasphemous character that is entirely alien to your personality. Saint Padre Pio, the 20th century mystic, spoke of the ugly things, or casaci, that would whisper horrors into his mind. He described these as mental images that would flash during the most sacred moments of the Mass. These thoughts are designed to produce instant shame. They make you feel that you are so corrupted that you can no longer approach the altar or speak to God. The trick is that the enemy makes these thoughts feel like they are your own. But investigators have noted a pattern. These thoughts are always violent, always mocking, and they always arrive when you are closest to a spiritual breakthrough. They are not reflections of your heart. They are external transmissions designed to short-circuit your peace. The sixth sign is the mirage of the light, the most deceptive of all forbidden signs. This is when the unseen force stops attacking with shadows and begins to mimic the light. Saint Catherine of Siena, a 14th century doctor of the Church, warned that the manufacturer of lies would often appear in the guise of an angel or even Jesus himself to give false directions. Catherine developed a rule of discernment that is still used today. A true divine vision may begin with a sense of awe or even fear, but it always ends in deep, lasting peace and humility. A diabolical deception, however, often begins with immediate joy, excitement, or flattery. It makes you feel chosen or superior to others. But as soon as the vision passes, it leaves behind a bitter aftertaste of anxiety, confusion, or pride. If you are receiving messages that tell you that you are special, or that the rules of morality no longer apply to you, you are being led into a trap of spiritual vanity. The seventh and final sign is the silence of the bronze heaven. This is the feeling of total, absolute isolation from the divine. Saint John of the Cross called this the dark night of the soul, but when it is part of a targeted attack, it feels different. It feels as if the ceiling of your room has been replaced with a sheet of metal, and your prayers are simply bouncing back at you. Saint Catherine of Siena once asked, during a period of intense darkness, "Where were you, my Lord, when my heart was full of so much darkness?" The answer she received was that God was hidden in the very center of her pain, providing the strength to survive what should have been a terminal blow. The enemy wants you to believe that the silence of God is the absence of God. He wants you to think that because you cannot feel the light has gone out. This is the final stage of the siege, intended to make the target surrender out of pure exhaustion. Why are these signs kept hidden? Why is this knowledge often dismissed as superstition? Because the greatest victory of any unseen force is the belief that it does not exist. As long as you believe your suffering is random, you will seek only random solutions. You will treat a spiritual wound with physical bandages, and the wound will never heal. Once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. You begin to realize that the chaos in your life has a rhythm, and the fear in your mind has an author. What investigators have uncovered across centuries of records is that these 7 signs are the standard operating procedure for an enemy that has been studying human psychology for millennia. From the convents of 17th century France to the modern suburban homes of today, the signature remains the same. The cold spots, the vile smells, the sudden breakdown of relationships, and the crushing weight of despair are all components of a singular project, the destruction of the human spirit. But there is a forbidden truth that the unseen force fears more than anything. It is the realization that a target who knows they are being hunted is no longer a victim. They are a warrior. The moment you name the attack, the moment you recognize the 7 signs, the power of the secrecy is broken. In every historical case, from the Desert Fathers to the modern deliverance rooms, the turning point was the same: the courage to stand firm and refuse the invitation to despair. The evidence is all around us, hidden in plain sight. It is in the unexplained events we dismiss as stress, and the patterns of misfortune we call bad luck. But for those with eyes to see, the cipher is being decoded. The war is real, the targeting is precise, and the stakes are nothing less than your soul. Now that the truth has been exposed, you must ask yourself the most important question of all. Are the shadows in your life merely the absence of light, or are they something with a will of their own? And if you truly look back at the coincidences of your past week, can you honestly say you are alone in the room?